I always tell people that BC is the main character in my videos because I don't think that I'd be where I'm at with what I'm doing if it wasn't for where we live. Literally the only thing that we plan is where we're going. Like we'll say, okay, we're going to go do this trail or we're going to this city and we're going to run these trails or whatever it might be. And then it's just, the video is just whatever happens along the way. And sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's not. And I have to make it interesting, like through storytelling or whatever it may be. Right. It's weird because we're trying not to get stuck, but getting stuck also makes for like really great content for the video. So it's like, it's weird. It's because you're trying not to do the thing that's going to be good for you. No snow is more fun for me because it's running around with the cameras in the snow is exhausting.
Warning. The 4x4 Canada podcast contains discussion about exploring mountains, camping beside lakes, and enjoying the outdoors. Guests also talk about jumping race trucks side by side, racing 1,000 horsepower rigs across mud pits, and jumping monster trucks over stacks of buses. None of this is for the faint of heart. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for bringing out your inner adrenaline junkie or making you want to get out there and explore the back roads from coast to coast. The 4x4 Canada podcast is not responsible for broken parts due to jumping your vehicle, hitting mud poles too hard, crossing deep streams, and doing other dumb shit. However, we will take credit for inspiring you to explore mountaintops, spend quality time outdoors with your friends, or meeting new like-minded people, and most importantly of all, following your dreams. Welcome to the 4x4 Canada podcast. I'm your host, Wes.
Oh, and I'm Shaun from the Story Till Now. I didn't realize you were going to be done your intro so quickly.
It's all good. We figured we might as well dive right into it. So
yeah.
So I'm flying solo on this episode. Trisha's decided that she'd rather celebrate her anniversary than meet Shaun from the Story Till Now.
That seems reasonable.
But before we get into it, I do want to mention to our listeners that we're going to start a roundtable discussion the third Tuesday of every month. It'll be via Zoom, and we're inviting all our listeners to join us. The link is at the top of our website at 4x4canadapodcast.com, and we'll have a different theme each time, and which we'll announce ahead of time. The episodes will then be posted as a podcast on the following Thursday. Not sure how it'll work out. We'll give it a shot, and we thought it would be something different and interesting to involve our listeners with.
Sounds like fun.
It should be good. Yeah, I know a couple other ones do it, and that seems to work out well. So it'll be something different, right? So just to involve people a bit more. So getting back to you, Shaun, thank you once again for taking the time.
My pleasure.
I know that you're busy. You're all over the place, and between filming and editing, and you got a lot on the go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so Shaun's got a YouTube channel that you guys might have heard about called The Story Till Now. Our listeners can check you out as The Story Till Now on all the socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. You're well known for your cinematography and drone work. The channel's gained a lot of popularity over the last few years, especially with the new Gladiator and your trips down south. And we'll get into that soon, but I also want to learn a little bit about you. You're a British Columbia native, right?
Yes, I am.
Born and bred.
I was born in Surrey, actually, but I lived in Maple Ridge since I was a year old. And I've lived all over BC, but now I live in Maple Ridge again.
It's funny. We talk to a lot of people, and BC seems to be a hub for YouTubers.
Really?
I think it's just because it's such a beautiful province, right? I mean, you got the mountains, you got the ocean, you got the grasslands. It's just absolutely gorgeous, right?
I always tell people that BC is the main character in my videos because I don't think that I'd be where I'm at with what I'm doing if it wasn't for where we live.
You wouldn't be where you are if you lived in Saskatchewan?
Definitely not. It's just Saskatchewan.
Oh, really? Well,
no.
The northern part is the typical how they picture it with the fields and the flatlands and that, but actually up north is got a lot of really good wheeling.
Oh yeah, that's
really good fishing, really good wheeling. It's either rocks or mud. So, but have you been like you say you haven't been to Saskatchewan, so have you been into Ontario and Quebec or anything like that?
No, I mean, I've been to Toronto one time ever on a layover on my way to the Bahamas. I had like 3 hours and yeah. So that's my experience on the east coast of Canada. Actually, I haven't really done much outside of BC at all. I've got into Alberta a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And other than that, I've probably traveled more in the United States than I have in Canada.
Well, Canada is an absolutely beautiful country, and every province has something to throw at you, right? And,
Yep.
The Quebec and Northern Quebec or Northern Ontario are absolutely gorgeous. And of course, the East Coast. I'd really like to get back out to the East Coast myself and do some exploring out there. And then,
It's just so far.
I know that's the problem, right?
Like when you're traveling in the United States, you can easily get from state to state or city to city. And it's like everything's within a day. You can be somewhere that's also interesting. But here, the cities are so far apart, or like the places to go are like so far apart that you're looking at weeks of travel just to get anywhere, right? So it's
yeah, exactly. I mean, even to get to, for me to get to Edmonton is like 9 hours, right? Then you throw another 3-4 hours on for you, and that's just to Edmonton. Never
Where
mind.
are you from?
I'm up in Kamloops.
Okay.
Yeah. So, has the Tuktoyaktuk ever crossed your mind?
It has. I've thought about it a lot, and going up to Alaska or the Yukon and places like that. The problem that I always run into when trying to plan that is you generally have to do it in the summer, and it takes a week to get up there, a week to get back, and then you need to spend time there as well. So it's just such a huge time commitment that, kind of the bang for buck that I get for my time for making videos, it isn't really worth it in the summer, because the summer is the best time to do lots of cool stuff in BC. There's lots of, you can get way up higher into the mountains, all the trails, all the snow melts. And so to take a month, let's say, you'd probably need a month to do that trip. And I do everything a lot slower because I stop to film everything along the way as well. So a month in the summer is to make, who knows how much content I would get out of that. I mean, I would love it on a personal level just to do the trip. Yeah. Just because I'd love to see it. But, it's also my job. So I got to make the most of my time.
Totally understandable. I get that. And yeah, for the average person, it would be 3 weeks minimum, I would think, right?
I think
and
so.
You would throw on another week just because of all your stops and stuff like that. So I totally get that. So
yeah. And then I have a family too, and they'd either have to come with me, which would probably quadruple the time it would take me to do anything, or they'd have to stay home without me for a month, which is not really an option. So
yeah. And especially, I mean, your daughter, she's growing up so fast, right? So
yeah. She's starting to get real angry when I leave now. No, Daddy, don't go to work. I'm sure
I have to say that video that you did with her, was it 3 weeks or a month ago, whatever it was now, I have to say that was probably one of my favorite videos.
I appreciate that,
because I think a lot of people can relate to that, spending time with their kids, and she's growing fast, right? So, she's
going to be 4 in like a week.
And then she's getting into soccer or dance or whatever, right? Must be hard leaving sometimes if you're gone for a week or two, right?
Especially now that she recognizes that I'm not there. And then I'll come back and she's already changed, within a week or two. She'll be speaking so much more, and like even just going away for the weekend, I'll come back and all of a sudden she'll seem smarter, So it's tough, but I mean, it is what it is. I got to do what I do, and I'm doing it for her. So
it's part of the job, right? So
yeah.
Are you going to be doing more videos with her as she grows up? Like, obviously it's a little hard as a 4-year-old, but say when she's 10, 12, or
I sure hope so. If she wants to, absolutely.
I was going to say she probably won't want to talk to you when she's 14, but
well, right now she's obsessed with camping. Actually, ever since that trip from that video, she talks about it like every day. She's like, Daddy, I want to go camping more. I want to go camping more. When can we sleep in your Jeep again? Yeah. She's like, I want to sleep in the green Jeep.
Awesome. So, that's great.
I would definitely love to take her out more. Right now, it's difficult because she's also a full-time job to handle her. Yeah. So, I mean, for a trip like that where I just stayed in one place, I wasn't driving around too much, it wasn't too bad because I don't have to leave her in the car while I'm setting up cameras and stuff. And so I just kind of filmed what was going on and set up cameras on tripods and stuff. So for that kind of trip, that was great, but I can't do those kind of videos all the time. Otherwise, I'd just be making the same video over and over again.
But hopefully, like when she's 8 or 10 or 12 kind of idea, or even a bit older, she'll still want to do those with you, right? So
I hope so. Hopefully, she can be my camera operator. She loves filming right now. I give her a GoPro all the time, even just around the house. She just wants to film everything, and whenever she's got a camera, she's hilarious. So
awesome.
I love it.
Let her run up and down the hills, right, with the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, I figure I probably only got a few more years left in me of running up and down hills with cameras before I'm not gonna have the strength for that.
I've been out with Mike from the Unexpected Off Road quite a bit, and either one of us will run up and down the hill, and it's like, why don't we bring passengers? Like, this is just ridiculous, right?
Yeah,
There's one guy I was listening to on a podcast down south, and he said he actually did a YouTube video of a collection of all the running back and forth with the cameras that they did over the course of a year. Yeah. And there's a couple times somebody fell or something like that, and it was pretty funny.
yeah.
But
I'll occasionally throw in a shot like in a video somewhere, just like leave it in there of me running to get the camera after. I think there's one I did recently in a snow video where just because it was like you see me hiking through this deep snow, like up to my knees to go get the camera. I thought it was kind of cool to leave that shot in.
The things you do, eh?
Yeah, it's exhausting.
So, did you grow up in an outdoors family, or is this something that came later on in your life?
My parents took me camping a lot as a kid. Every summer we'd go maybe 3 or 4 times, just like provincial parks and stuff. We had a tent trailer, and I always loved camping. But I kind of like, as I became an adult, I kind of just stopped doing it because I was, doing other stuff in my 20s or whatever, right? And then, I just kind of got back into it, and one thing leads to another.
So what was your first 4x4?
My first 4x4 was a 99 Jeep Cherokee, 2-door manual. And I bought it for $2,000, and it had 30-inch tires and like a 2.5-inch lift, and one of the whole sides was caved in because it had been rolled, but it had a roof rack on it. And it was, the reason I bought it is because I had a Mazda Miata. That was my daily driver. And I started going camping a lot up the FSRs. Like I'd go up Harrison a lot. Yeah. And my friend was like, you got to buy a truck or something. You're just going to trash this. I was that guy driving a Mazda Miata up the Forest Service Road, right? And I'd have, my barbecue on the passenger. It's only like a 2-seater and it's a tiny little trunk. So I had like my barbecue on the passenger seat and my tent. I'd have the roof, the top down, and but up to the top of the windshield was full of camping gear. And, everyone would just look at me like I was a moron. And my friend said, you should just go on Craigslist and buy like a Ford Explorer or something for $1,000 so that you don't trash your car. And then, it's how I ended up finding the Cherokee. And then once I had the Cherokee, I was like, well, what else can I do with this thing? And then I signed up for the 4-Wheel Drive Association, and I got the Backroader magazine. And there was like stories of people's trips and photos. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to go on like these old roads that like haven't been traveled in years and are like dangerous. And that was like kind of what sparked the bug in me. And then it kind of just, it's evolved to where it is now. It's my whole life now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So the story till now, how did that come about? I mean, going from an XJ, and you evolved through, a couple different vehicles and that, but what brought on the Story Till Now channel?
I've always been into making videos, like ever since I was a teenager. So I was working in a IT job. I was a project manager for this software company, and I hated it. I was miserable, and I wanted to do more video stuff. So I took all the money I had and I bought a bunch of camera equipment, and I started a videography business. And I did a few jobs, and then I realized really quickly that I just hated making stuff for other people. Like I didn't get any creative fulfillment out of making other people's stuff. Some of it was fun. Like I did some music videos. Those were fun to make because you're just doing fun stuff and hanging out with fun people. But I didn't like doing anything like commercials and stuff like that.
Corporate.
Anything corporate was just so boring. And I found like I would procrastinate on getting anything done. I'd hand in work like a month or 2 late because I just didn't want to do it. And I was like, okay, this obviously isn't what I should be doing. So I stopped doing that, and I was going to get my real estate license. And then I started studying for that. And at the same time, I had all this equipment. I was like really getting into making videos and stuff. So I just asked my wife if she was cool if I just started filming stuff that we do and just putting it on YouTube for fun. And the first video on the channel is our honeymoon. Like it's not even off-roading. So
I actually went back and watched that one, and there's clips of you without your beard. Like this is going back years ago.
Yeah, that would have been like 2017, I think. It's been a while. Time flies.
Yeah. So on that video, just actually popping back to that for a second, you spent some time in China, right? Is that
Yeah, we just went. So we went for our honeymoon. We went to Beijing and Shanghai, and we went to Thailand as well. And that's all in the video. But
yeah,
I think it was like a 2-week trip. And my wife's Chinese, so we went to. I hadn't met her family,
right?
So that's part of the reason we went to China for our honeymoon, so I could meet her parents and her family and have dinner.
That must have been a great experience, though.
Yeah, it was awesome. For sure.
Like, yeah.
I love going to other countries and experiencing different cultures. I actually lived in Japan for 4 years.
Okay.
Before I met my wife. So
yeah. And what were you doing in Japan for 4 years?
Not a whole lot. Just having a good time. I was teaching English a little bit, was bartending for a bit.
That must have been a really different experience. I mean,
yeah, it is. You can't get much more different than Japan.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with different languages, totally different cultures, everything, right? So,
yeah, I love it. I love that stuff. I think everybody should spend at least a year living in a foreign country. That's a totally different culture. It'll make you a better person. You pick up like all the good parts of their culture, and then you can kind of add it to your own, lifestyle. And I learned so much about people just from doing that, and about myself. So,
oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt that for sure.
Great.
So, sorry, let's get back to your rigs. Your latest one, the Trail Wrecker. That thing is a
Trail Destroyer.
Trail Destroyer, sorry.
Yes.
That thing is a beast. Can you walk our listeners through that?
Like just what I've done to it?
Yeah, what you've done to it. I mean, you've pretty much done everything to it, I think. But
yeah, there's not a whole lot of original parts left, actually. I think the transfer case is maybe the only original part other than the body.
Transfer case that just blew up?
Yeah. Well, that one's gone now. We put a new one in it. So
okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Where do we start? So it's got a 426
it's Gladiator.
It's a Gladiator. It's our Gladiator Rubicon to start with, and then we swapped the engine for a 426 Hemi kit from America's Most Wanted. So the guys at Epic Adventure Outfitters did that swap, and we also swapped the axles for Ultimate Dana 60s front and rear, and then it's on 40-inch Toyo MTs. KMC beadlock wheels. We've got a Next Venture Motorsports aluminum front and rear bumpers to save weight. And then, because weight always seems to be an issue in this game. So, and then it's got about a 4.5-inch lift. It's Terraplex. And then we've got metal cloak, fenders, and inner fenders. Yeah. What else have we got in here? Casey highlights, lights, rock
up on the roof there.
Got the Go Fast camper on the back, which is great. So you can, for those people who don't know what that is, it's like a rooftop tent, but it's also, you can go into the bed and up into it. So you can also use it as you can put a chair in your bed and use it as a desk, which is great for editing, and it gives you a place to stand up in your truck if you want to change clothes and get out of the rain and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the thing I found with the rooftop tent. As much as I love it, I think my next evolution on my rig will be going to a Yucca pack out of Alberta or something along that line, just so I can stand up inside and get changed, or, if it's pouring rain out, you can sit inside and play cards or whatever, just get out of all the elements, right? So
having a space that is usable inside your vehicle is really nice when you're spending a lot of time in your truck. And I live in mine, probably more than 25% of the year I'm sleeping out of my truck. So it's nice. I also have a custom diesel heater installed that's kind of piped right into the floor. We just drill a hole, cut a hole in the floor, and it looks like a little furnace vent in the floor, which is great because sometimes we're out in very, very freezing temperatures in the winter in the snow.
I've seen some of the videos, your winter videos, and you guys, even to spring, it seemed to be a late spring this year. And,
I was still using my diesel heater a couple weeks ago. So, it's hot down here, but up in the mountains, when it gets cloudy or raining, it's still freezing up there. I got a video coming out tomorrow. We tried to do the Whipsaw Trail, 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Yeah.
And we woke up to a half a foot of snow. So that was fun.
And that's the end of June, right?
It's not unheard of for there to be snow up there in June, but usually by the end of June, and it was completely clear. There was no more snow on it. It was already all dried up, but then just a freak snowstorm. So, but it makes for a really cinematic video. So I like it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So what are you running on the inside? Like you've got obviously your communications and that, and you're a big fan of Onyx off-road. So I assume you've got a good tablet and stuff like that inside with
Yeah.
that. What all are you running on the inside of that?
Not a whole lot, really. I've got a Starlink that I've mounted inside the cab, like the router's all mounted and everything. So I just plug in the dish and can throw it out if I need internet. I've got, like I said, I got a tablet mounted on the dash I use for mapping, Kenwood radios for communications, ham radios. What else we got inside? 67 Designs mounts for GoPros, phones, and tablets, stuff like that.
Yeah,
those are great. Seat delete in the rear, Dometic fridge. I think that's about it. There's not a whole lot exciting going on inside the truck.
Well, it's all business, right?
Yeah.
Just what you need kind of idea,
yeah.
right?
I mean, usually it's just a mess in there. Like my passenger seat will just be I'll have like a pillow on the floor just so for like padding, and then there'll just be cameras kind of on drones like all over my passenger seat, and things are flying around when I'm doing obstacles. I'm the worst organizer in the world.
So that 426 Hemi, I mean, that thing, your whole Gladiator is a beast. I mean, run the 40s with 1 tons but with the 426, the power is just it's got to be fun, right?
It is fun.
But how's the gas mileage?
It's not as terrible as you would think.
Yeah.
I actually get exactly the same highway mileage as I did before, except I'm on 40s and I have to run premium. So that's the main difference. And then I ran into this actually like a week ago. We were in this really small town and they didn't have any premium. So that was a bit of a challenge. Luckily, we'd brought a couple of jerry cans, but we had to like drive way out to another town to refill them for premium. So,
right.
But yeah, on the highway, it's fine. I still get over 400 kilometers per tank, which is...
Well, you're probably not working it as hard, right? Compared to the V6.
Yeah, especially if you run cruise control on the highway, it saves a ton of gas as well.
Yeah.
And then, but on the trail, it's bad. So...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it's more like... So even when it's idling, it's sucking a lot of gas. So it's more about the amount of time that the engine's running than the amount of distance that you go. So because we'll take... a whole day to go somewhere that's not actually that far in kilometers, right? Like maybe it takes us 4 hours to go 50 kilometers because we're stopping and filming and, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you're just driving really slow because it's a rough trail or whatever it may be, right? So a lot of times I'll only get like 100 kilometers per tank off road if I'm going really slow. So I have to carry, I usually, to be safe, if I'm not sure, I'll carry 4 extra jerry cans, so like 40 liters or 80 liters of extra, like a whole tank of extra fuel, basically, just to be safe. But for the most part, for most trails that I already know and kind of have an idea of how long they are and whatnot, I'll just carry 1 or 2 extra jerry cans. So there is a little bit of logistics that have to be figured out because of the engine, but it makes it like I'm driving a truck on 40s and it's like driving a stock truck, because of the amount of power. And I mean, and it just sounds awesome as well. So, I mean, half the reason I did it was for fun. Not for practical reasons at all.
There's nothing like a big V8
diesel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, exactly.
But I thought it was more fun.
How does that compare to Casey's fuel mileage? I mean, he's got to be even
very
worse.
Similar. We just did a trip last week. We were out for 3 or 4 days, and on the highway we had almost identical mileage.
Yeah.
But off-road, he seemed to go through more fuel than me.
Yeah.
So he had to dump in jerry cans long before I had to.
But it's 800 horsepower, right? So
yes. Again, not anything that's for practical reasons at all. It's just to be ridiculous and fun, and it's a fun build, right?
Yeah, no doubt. That sounds great. So your last rig was a Gladiator as well, and it was built differently. The same, but different kind of idea, right? So What are some of the pros and cons of each one?
Well, the first one was I didn't really know what I was doing when I was building it. I was just kind of throwing, I was like, that's cool. Let's throw these parts in. And then oh, that's cool. I want that. And then I kind of learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work and what's too heavy and what's, what. So everything that I learned from the first one, I kind of applied to the second one, like I said, with the aluminum armor and stuff like that, to save weight, because weight was that first truck was so heavy with the stainless steel cap on it. And yeah, weight was always an issue. We couldn't get the suspension to stay level at all. Like it was just impossible. We had like 2-inch spacers or something in the rear, and it was ridiculous. So yeah, one of my main guiding principles with this truck was I want it to be as light as possible, because I know it's going to still carry a lot of gear. And, you know, I wanted it to be like the ultimate go anywhere, do anything rig. So it could be a rock crawler if I wanted to, or it can be a long distance traveler if I wanted to as well.
Yeah, I think you've done a really good job of mixing up both of those, because you can rock crawl with the best of them, but you also get that mileage where you can go, or not the mileage per se, but comfort and
right. It's livable.
Yeah, exactly. So you also have a Bronco, or I should say your wife has a Bronco.
That's right.
And one of the new Broncos. Do you love it as well?
You know, I don't love it. I like it. Every time I drive it, it blows me away at how capable it is. It's way more capable than it has any business being. It's so comfortable to drive off-road because of the IFS front. It's just so smooth, and anything you throw it at, it handles it well. Like as far as the off-road capability, they designed it really well, but I feel like the build quality of the vehicle it's not a Jeep, you know, like it feels like it's going to break. I haven't broken it yet, but I've broken little things. Like, I'll give you an example. I went to go put on the emergency brake, and I grabbed it's got like a little electronic switch under the dash that you pull.
Yeah.
And it just like broke off when I pulled on it. Cause I guess I pulled it like slightly too hard, but I was like, what is this? It just broke off like nothing. And yeah, I don't know. Like the whole interior just feels kind of plasticky and cheap.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a really good off-road vehicle. I enjoy driving it, but I like the Jeep more.
I mean, the Jeep they've been building that version of, you know, whether it be the JK or the JLs for, 20 years kind of idea, right? So they got some practice on it. Yeah. And hopefully the build quality, I mean, Bronco's only been out, 2 years or something like that, right? 2-3 years now. So
it doesn't feel rugged, right? Like it feels more like a car to me than it does, or like a Jeep feels like it's made to like take a beating a bit, you know?
Yeah.
And the Bronco just doesn't feel like that to me. But I'm not trying to diss it or anything. I still like it. We're going to do more with it. And like, I've got it in my video. I'm just driving it in my video that's coming out tomorrow. So
nice. Yeah. I think it's definitely a good competition for the Jeep for sure. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And like you say, they are more capable than a lot of people think off-road. So
yeah, even stock, like I took that thing all over Moab without modifying anything. It just had the Sasquatch package. So it was like lifted from factory on 35s. And it did pretty much anything I threw at it. I mean, I didn't do any extreme stuff in Moab, but I mean, we did some rock crawling and some stuff. And yeah, I scraped the underside a lot, and I ripped some trim pieces off, I think. But, it was fine.
And the wife is expecting that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's actually been driving it out with me a few times recently. So good. I think like originally the plan was I wanted my family to come out with me together, and that's why we got the Broncos, so that we'd have two off-road vehicles. Not only would it serve as a backup vehicle if something went wrong with the Jeep, so that I could still go out and make videos and not just be like out of luck. Yeah. Also, I wanted my wife to drive it and bring my daughter, and we could go do stuff together. So I think probably we're going to be doing a lot more of that sooner or later.
Yeah, I think that's a great vehicle for that too, right? Because like you say, it's a more comfortable vehicle, and
and she loves driving it.
That's the main thing, right? So,
and like I said, you just kind of point and it goes over anything really easy, and it does it comfortably. So for her, like, I taught her how to put it in 4-low and disconnect the electronic sway bar, and now she knows how to do it. And I don't have to say anything. She just follows me.
Perfect. So you've been spending a lot of time down in the States. Are you starting to run out of areas in BC, or is it because you want to explore more down south, or is it content?
So a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm not really running out of places. In the winter, it is sometimes tough because there's not a whole lot of places to go. So being able to go down to the States gives me more options because it's warmer. So, and I also like to go down there and just hang out with my other YouTuber buddies and make videos with them. And for me, my favorite part of all this is exploring. I'm an explorer at heart. So I want to go new places.
Yeah.
And the more stuff I do in BC, the more I'm like going to places I've already been before, just because there's only so many places you can go before you got to start going further and further and further. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it also, if I go down to the US, say like last winter, I was like, okay, I'm going to go spend 3 weeks in the US. And then I'm not going to go to this place and this place and this place because I went to these places last year. And then maybe next year I can go to those places again and it's like more fresh, right? So I'm just trying to like keep the content varied as well. And I know a lot of people tell me they don't really like seeing me wheeling in the US because they want to see the main character of the show, which is British Columbia.
BC.
And I totally get that. But I also like to get out of the rain once in a while.
Yeah, understandable. And I think, I don't like going to the same place all the time, right?
No.
So I totally get that. There's even camping in the same place for 2 nights in a row bugs the heck out of me sometimes, right?
Yeah.
When I'm not doing family stuff or whatever.
2 nights
right?
is like my limit. If it's like a nice spot, like on a beach or something where I've got something to do during the day, totally fine. But I'm so used to just camping for the night, getting up and continue doing some exploring, some off-roading. Yeah, I like to make distance.
Yeah. No, I hear you on that one for sure. So your cinematography is incredible. That's one of the things that your videos are well known for, is your cinematography. How much time do you spend editing each video?
It depends on how long the trip is or how long the video is going to be. Recently, I've been doing a bit longer videos, like 30 to 40 minutes. So those videos take me like 4 to 5 days to edit. So it's a lot of time. But like for a 20-minute video, usually I can bang that out in 2 to 2.5 days.
That's a lot of work.
It is. Yeah. Because I'll go out for the weekend and then I'll come back and I'll edit the video for the whole week. And then like just barely have enough time to pack up and go out again. And then, I've got a family on top of that. I've got I don't see any friends unless they're coming out on trips with me. So sorry, friends that haven't seen me in 4 or 5 years. But
it's funny. Some people don't consider being a YouTuber as having a real job. But I mean, you think about all the time you spend filming, editing, planning, social media.
It's definitely a job.
Working on marketing partnerships, all that stuff, right? Like it's a full-time job,
It is.
Or it can be a full-time job, right?
I easily do 100 hours a week or more every week for the last several years. But I mean, that's how much time you have to put in if you want it to work. Like if you want to do it as your thing, I can't go back to working in an office or something. I just can't do it. So this is it for me. Like once I got a little taste of it working out, I was like, okay, let's go.
Yeah. Full speed ahead. Right. So,
yep.
So what editing program do you use?
I use a program called DaVinci Resolve, which is awesome software. You can actually download it for free and it's hardly limited at all. There's just very few limitations. I think I used the free version for 2 years before I actually paid it's only like $300 to buy the full version. But because they started adding really cool features that were only in the paid version.
Right.
And then I started feeling like those are things that I could use. So I bought it.
Yeah. I use DaVinci as well. And I was actually just on it about an hour ago, going through and doing some podcast editing with it because it's not just for video, right? It's got a very good sound thing as well too. So
it's got everything. It's got color, graphics, effects, like anything you can think of related to video and audio you can do in there. Yeah. It's such a crazy I can't believe they give it away for free, but they're smart, right? Because then a lot of people end up buying it. And I used to use Adobe Premiere before that. And I would have so many problems because I'd be trying to export a video and it would just crash all the time in the middle of exporting videos. And there'd be weeks where it'd be Monday morning, my video is going up at 9 a.m. and I'm up at like 7 a.m. like export over and over. And it would just crash at random times. And after 10 tries, maybe I'd get lucky and it would complete. And I'm like, yes, upload my video and get it up like just in the nick of time. So once I started using Resolve, it's like it renders faster. It doesn't crash. So it saved me so much time.
Yeah. We use it at work as well too. Our video guide uses it at work and it's a great system. Like I say, I can't believe they do it for free, but it's cheap. Even for the paid version, it's $300-400 for the paid version, which is dirt cheap for anything these days, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's paid for itself 10 times over for me easily.
I wouldn't doubt it. So I assume you have a few different cameras.
I do.
What are you using for cameras these days?
So right now I have a Sony A7S III that I use as like my vlogging camera.
Yep.
And then I have a DJI Ronin 4D cinema camera, which I use for like all the like cinematic wheeling shots and stuff. Like whenever I can. It's this big. Here, I have it right here. It's this. It weighs 12 pounds, but it's got like a up and down axis stabilizer on it. So basically,
that is wild.
It's like you're on rails when you're walking around with it. It hurts your back to carry it, but the footage looks fantastic. So I'm a bit of a perfectionist with like how I want my stuff to look. So I'll sacrifice my body and do that. So those are my two like main handheld cameras. And then I've got this guy is the DJI Action 2, I think.
Okay.
Which I like because it's magnetic and you can stick it to
stuff.
Yeah. And then this is just like a extra battery pack.
So being magnetic, you could actually put it on the side of your door or something like that.
Yeah, if everything wasn't made of aluminum, you could.
Okay.
Vehicles are all aluminum now. But I also like it because it has a little USB-C port in the side, and I got this little Rode microphone that you can just plug into it, and now you got like good audio quality. So I put this on my dash to record like driving through on the hood shot, and then I can also like rotate it around and talk to it if I need to. Then I've got a GoPro. I've got like probably 10 GoPros, but I usually only bring one of them with me. And then I usually have this on like a suction cup or a handle, so I can just stick it wherever, or I can hold it out the window, or it's kind of like that. And then we got drones, DJI Mavic 3 Pro, it's the new one. It's got like 3 different lenses on it, so this has been fun to play with recently. I just did a whole video where I almost shot everything on the drone. It's just crazy, this technology that we have now.
Yeah, and drones over the last couple of years have really improved, right? I mean, you take a look at the drones 5 years ago.
When I started using drones, they were primitive compared to what we're using now. Like now I'm doing like motion picture quality aerial shots now, which is insane, like 6K, and it's got like 3 different focal lengths on it, which is awesome. You can zoom in super tight. So that's
one thing that you're well known for is your drone shots, right? And so how long did it take you to get used to I was gonna say how long did it take you to get to doing good drone shots, but I guess you were already doing a bit before with some of your other audio visual stuff.
I was just kind of playing around with drones before I started doing the YouTube channel. I had very little experience, but I picked it up very quickly. It's just, it's like playing a video game. And I don't know. I don't really think I'm very good at it at all. Like people are always saying like, "Oh, he's so good at drone shots." So like, I don't really know why it is that I'm any better than anyone else. For the most part, all I do is just follow my truck and point the stick. I guess I'd say my skill is probably flying it and driving at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I would never actually do. That's not legal. I have somebody in my passenger seat doing it, but if I had to, I could do it very well.
Yeah. I think what everybody seems to like is your cinematic. You got the drone shots, but you also have a very good ear for the music to work with those particular drone shots as well too. Right. So the way that you put it together in a package is, if it's just a drone shots, they're good drone shots, very good drone shots. But I think how you package it is what everybody seems to really enjoy. So
yeah, the sound is more important than the visuals. Like if you close your eyes and listen to a movie, like you can kind of still pick up what's going on. But if there's no sound, it's just picture, you might be kind of lost because you can't understand what people are saying, or you can't, or it's just boring, right? Sound is super important. It's like 75% of the movie.
That's a very good point. Hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah. When you go out to do your trips and stuff like that, do you have a lot of plans ahead of time? I mean, obviously things will change, whether it be a flat tire or you can't go down that road or whatever. But do you have a pretty good plan of what you're going to be doing for the video?
No. Literally the only thing that we plan is where we're going. Like we'll say, okay, we're going to go do this trail, or we're going to this city and we're going to run these trails, or whatever it might be. And then it's just, the video is just whatever happens along the way. And sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's not. And I have to make it interesting, like through storytelling or whatever it may be. Right. So,
or bears, fake bears.
Fake bears. No, I mean, we've never faked anything. Like I get accused of it all the time in the comments. Like, oh, like that's the weirdest one I had recently is people were accusing me of doing CGI. They said that some of the drone shots were CGI. I don't think that's ridiculous. but yeah, I'll occasionally get someone accusing us of like staging things or staging getting stuck or whatever it may be. And we don't do that. That's stupid.
You try not to get stuck, right?
Yeah, of course we're trying not to get stuck. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's weird because yeah, we're trying not to get stuck, but getting stuck also makes for like really great content for the video. So it's like, it's weird. It's because you're trying not to do the thing that's going to be good for you.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. We don't do anything we don't like cause problems on purpose. That never happened.
So for people that have a YouTube channel or looking into getting into it, whether it be, as a personal thing or whatever, what advice do you have for them for creating good content or working with the algorithm, etc.?
Do something that you enjoy, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. If you don't enjoy I see a lot of people try to start YouTube channels and they're doing it because they just want to make money off YouTube. But they don't actually enjoy the process of making the videos, which is what you spend most of your time doing. Like, yeah, we're going out and off-roading and doing these awesome trips and we get to go all sorts of cool places and all that. But I spend way more time editing the videos than doing that. And if you don't enjoy that part of it, or you're not good at that part of it, I mean, you can get good at it with practice, but if you're not willing to make 100 bad videos before you make one good video, then just don't bother, because you're wasting your time.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into making a video.
You got to love it. You got to love that part of it. And I love that part of it because it's a creative outlet for me. I get to put it together, and like, I always wanted to make movies. That's all I ever wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to be like a movie director. This is just as close as I was able to get so far. But that's what I love about it. I love making something cool and then getting to see people's reaction to it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. And then the other thing that I've noticed is in the last little bit is that your thumbnails and your titles, video titles, they seem to really work. You look at your page, your YouTube page, you look at the videos and I don't, there seems to be a real trick to it. I know it's not easy making a thumbnail that catches the eye.
The hardest part of the whole thing. And it's my least, actually, I don't mind making the thumbnails, but making a good one and pairing it with the right title is probably the most annoying part of the whole thing, because the way YouTube works, it's like, it's almost like psychology, right? Because you can have the best video in the world, but if you have a boring thumbnail and title and no one clicks on it, no one's ever going to watch it. So the trick to it seems to be you have to pique curiosity somehow. Yeah. You have to have an image that catches the eye, and then you have to have a title that makes people go, "Oh, I want to know what happens." And then, so a lot of times it's, you gotta borderline clickbait it, right? Because it's the numbers don't lie. If you pique someone's curiosity, your video performs, 2 to 10 times better than if the title is like, oh, wheeling in the forest, or like just saying what you're doing, then people are like, I don't want to watch. There's 100 million wheeling in the forest videos, right? But if I put, we almost didn't make it out of the forest, or we almost died. I used that one on the Alexander McKenzie movie. And then I probably had at least 50 comments of people like, you didn't almost die. You never almost stopped breathing. And like people like ripping apart. I'm like, dude, relax. Did you not just watch like a super entertaining off-roading movie? Like, you're really going to nitpick me on saying we almost died, which we did almost roll off at the edge of a cliff, so it's not like I'm just lying, It's funny though, because all the things that people nitpick about with stuff like that, all it's doing is driving engagement, right?
Yep.
Like, the more I do things like that, the more I win, right? So it's like if I say I was having a conversation with Teddy the other day, and I said, the next time I drive past a street sign that says 60 kilometers an hour, I'm going to film it, and I'm going to say in the video, I can't believe it's only 30 kilometers an hour here. I'm going to put that in the video. And then you know what's going to happen? There's going to be 1,000 comments saying, can't you read? It says 60, right? So it's like, it actually drives engagement when people correct you on things, or like, there's all these like weird, like psychological things that like, I wouldn't actually do that. I'm just using it as an example of like how YouTube works. Right.
Yeah.
So
you could have the best video in the world and there'll still be people critiquing it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's just,
that's just part of it.
Yeah. It's just part of it. So let's talk about that Alexander Mackenzie trail. The latest episode that you did with it, 957,000 views.
Yeah. That's going to be the first video to hit 1 million on the channel for sure. It's like within a month, I'd say it's probably going to hit 1 million.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. I mean, the views have slowed down quite a bit from it now. It's been, I think, 2 months since I posted that, but yeah, that's by far the biggest video ever on the channel. And I mean, the most viewed in the shortest amount of time, most subscribers, most, revenue driving, like everything. It's just completely.
Why do you think so?
Part of it's the length. So YouTube likes long form content. So I think the best work that I've done, like just because the trip is so interesting to watch, and there's drama, there's excitement, there's interpersonal relationships and humor and everything, right? So I think it's probably like, it's my masterpiece, so to speak, of that's the best thing I've done to date by far. So I think, just good content does well if, it's the right timing and right, you do the right thumbnail and title and the right content at the right time. And and if YouTube's, algorithm decides you're cool that day.
Yeah, well, like you say, the longer YouTube also likes longer videos, more people watch it, the more it helps promote that video to other people as well too. But
yeah, for sure.
I agree. It's your best one yet by far. Right?
I think so too. YouTube, I mean, obviously YouTube likes longer content because they make more money off of it because there's more advertisements for longer content. And I mean, I do too. And I've never done anything that long before, but I'm in a group chat with a bunch of other off-road YouTubers, and a lot of them have been experimenting with doing like movie compilations of their trips, where they'll do a series, 3-4 videos of a long trip, and then a few months later they'll release it as a movie. And I was really against it for a long time. I was like, I don't want to post the same content twice. Like, nobody's gonna watch that. And then I was like, man, when I first edited the Alexander Mackenzie series, I was like, this would be such a good movie. I wish I could just make this into a movie. And I was like, well, maybe I can. And then it's funny because the only reason I actually did it is because I forget where I was going, but I was going away on a trip. I think I was going to Overland Expo, and I was going to be gone for 2 weeks. And I'd been behind on filming, and I was just like completely swamped. And there was going to be 1 week where I wouldn't have a video. And for the last few years, I've been obsessed with not missing a week. Now I've missed a few weeks, and I'm just like, all right, cool, whatever. But I was really concerned about missing a week. And because I'd missed a week, I had COVID last year in October. After I got COVID at SEMA, and I was sick for a month. It was brutal, and I just couldn't make a video. There's no way. And I missed a week, and all my views and everything just tanked on the channel. I was like, oh no, like I just like killed my channel. Of course, it came back after a while, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, so I didn't want to miss a week. So I was like, well, maybe I'll just take this Alexander Mackenzie series I did, jumble it all together into a movie, and I'll just throw it up 1 week and see what happens. And it went bananas. So
it went nuts. Like you say, you're almost at 1 million views, which is awesome. Have you considered putting it in any film festivals?
No, I hadn't, but it's a great idea.
I think Expedition Overland, with their new little thing that they've got, I think they've been talking about doing a film festival, an overlanding film festival. Yeah.
Well, I had a movie in their first festival that they did a couple of years ago, but they don't allow content that's already been released. It has to be original.
Gotcha.
So
okay, but there's lots of other film festivals out there that that's
not a bad idea. I could look into that, if I ever have time.
So let's talk about that Alexander Mackenzie Trail. Can you explain to our listeners what the Alexander Mackenzie Trail is and what the draw to it is?
Yeah, so it's I forget how long it is, but it's quite a long trail, very northern BC, quite remote. It's the route that Alexander Mackenzie traveled with the natives when he was trying to get find a route to the ocean from the Fraser River. And so it's got a lot of history to it, and it's known as the Grease Trail because the natives would travel it to sell grease or something like that. I can't remember the exact details, but it became popularized, of course, with Expedition Overland's miniseries they did where they did the trail. But it's known for being difficult because of the amount of manpower you need to get through it, because there's a lot of deadfall. It's very windy there, and so there's always trees falling down. So like, you know, you could cut your way through the trail, and then like a week later, there'll be hundreds of trees falling on the trail again. So a lot of chainsawing, a lot of overgrown trail. A lot of times it's hard to find the trail. You'd be out there and, you know, we were scouting ahead with the drone, just trying to look for tire tracks from, you know, somebody who'd gone through the previous year, you know. So, and then there's been a lot of forest fires there as well. So yeah, it's just a historical trail that's difficult. It took us 8 or 9 days, I think, just on the trail, plus travel to and from the trail. Yeah. And it's definitely the longest off-road route that I've ever done. But to me, the appeal of it is that it's a challenge, and that you gotta have teamwork to do it. And it's not like a technically challenging trail as far as 4x4ing. Right. There's some water crossings, but a lot of it is just getting through the actual trail and finding the trail and cutting through wood and camping together with the guys along the way. So it's an experience. It's something to say, like, I did that, you know. I'm one of the few people who've done it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you had Braun with you, which, I mean, if there's a guy I want on the trail with me, it's going to be Braun.
I hear that a lot.
I bet you do.
Same with me. Yeah. That guy can do everything. He's a super skilled mechanic. He's a workhorse. Like he's one of those guys that just has to go. He has to be doing work all the time. He can't rest. And he's determined. And that's the kind of guy that you need to get you through something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I interviewed Teddy from Unwinding Roads back in November, I think it was. Yeah. And we talked about the side hill incident, and he was able to explain his side of the story and his thoughts during that event. And I know he took some flack online, but I mean, it's easy to be the Monday morning quarterback, right? Like
he got hated on so much for that. And, you know, you're not even seeing the whole situation, you know. It's edited down. And I mean, what people don't realize also is that he's way less experienced than Braun and I when it comes to off-roading. Yeah. You know, like I've thrown him into a lot of situations with me that he was not comfortable with, just because he hasn't been wheeling for years and years. Like he's like a couple years into doing this, you know, and you know, wheeling with me is a lot of his wheeling experience, and we do stupid stuff. So, but I mean, if you had been there, that's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life. I just didn't, you know, I wasn't like showing my fear, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's understandable that, you know, he had his panic attack or whatever you want to call it. I mean, you're hanging over, you got one tire half off of a cliff, and there's a car down at the bottom of it, and there's a cross right in front of you, and you know, you get a tree that you hook to, the winch line breaks, or however it happened like that. And it's a scary situation. Watching us
like nervously do it too. I mean, Braun was like, you know, Braun took a really long time to get across there too. He had the scariest truck of all, because he had all these like fuel cans on his roof, and like his truck's super top heavy. It was tipping like crazy. I mean, the camera doesn't do those hills justice. Like it's that angle was nasty, and the road was not as wide as our trucks. Like it just wasn't. And then, you know, the hardest part of it, Teddy drove through it like no problem, which is this part where the road is like, there's been a landslide or something. There's not even a road there. It basically goes from driving on like this little off-camber section of road to a point where you're just driving on the hillside, you know, and it's scary. Like I was like, man, if I make it through this, I'm going to be really happy.
Well, and he also had a baby. He's had the kid too, didn't he? Or it was on his way.
Sure. And also, you know, he's not making a bunch of money off YouTube. His channel's really small. Like he can't afford to wreck his truck. Right. Like, you know, I mean, neither can I, but I'd be okay. Right.
Yeah.
It's part of my job. But for him, it's like if he wrecks his truck or he hurts himself, or, you know, I was super uncomfortable with that whole situation. It was just, it had been a long day. We were all tired. We've been driving for, I don't know, like 12 hours already. It's dark. We're sweaty. There's mosquitoes everywhere. He's like, people don't understand like how stressful it gets. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't seem unusual at all to me the way he was.
Yeah. The Monday morning quarterbacks, I mean, it's always easy to, look back at it, right? And if you're not there, yeah. I mean,
it's funny. All the people who comment are like, well, I guess Teddy's never going on a trip with you again. And I was like, no, Teddy's coming on any trip he wants with me. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
So you've done a couple of videos lately with Colin from Overlanding Overland.
Yeah.
And great guy. Is he as funny in person as he is on the videos?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously in the videos, he's playing a character. But he is a funny guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a super interesting take on the whole thing that he's doing. I just love it. And
me too. We've making fun of overlanding. Like,
oh yeah.
While being,
and it's entertaining to watch. Right. So
yeah. Yeah. I love that he's making fun of overlanding while he's doing the overlanding. Right. Like,
yeah, totally. And if you're getting into this space to make YouTube videos about overlanding, like, how many people are doing that already? Like, you got to have an original take. Otherwise you're,
Yeah. I'm really happy to see his channel growing. It's, I love his videos and his sense of humor. Right. So
yeah, me too. Yeah. He was actually just at my house this morning. He camped in my front yard last night. We were hanging out for Canada Day. We went and floated down the river.
Nice. So is he actually selling the Land Cruiser?
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw the video and I'm like, I don't know if he's actually telling the truth or not.
Yeah, he's selling it. Yeah, he's like desperately trying to sell it. Like, he wants to get into something more reliable.
Yeah.
I know he was down at White Rock Dodge today test driving vehicles. So
good for him. Good for him. I mean, the Land Cruiser is a neat machine. It's, but it's miled up and it's old, and I get it, right? So,
yeah, like the nice thing about newer vehicles like the Gladiator is they're reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I beat the crap out of mine, both of them, and I never, other than like stuff that's my own doing, I've never had any major mechanical issues, like due to it not being a quality vehicle or anything.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's sometimes what you put it through, right? So
yeah, or modifications you do to it that you shouldn't have done. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. With doing a video every week or so and being Canadian, you're doing a lot of snow wheeling. What do you prefer, the snow or no snow?
No snow, for sure. It actually, it's funny because I mean, no snow is more fun for me because it's running around with the cameras in the snow is exhausting. Like those, but on the other hand, the snow videos this past winter just did fantastic. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Several of those ones are approaching 1 million views as well. And so that makes me want to do more, obviously, because people seem to like it. Until this winter, I really struggled to make videos in the winter just because they never seemed to do well. Like, snow wheeling videos didn't seem to do well. And I think I just was able to, this year, I was able to, with the Hemi and the 40s on the Gladiator, I was able to really push hard and kind of present it in a way that I wasn't able to present it before, and kind of push the limits of what you can do, without any tire chains.
Well, I think there's something to be said, for the V8 and the 40s versus, say, a Tacoma on 33s or whatever, right? Like,
sure,
you can do so much more with it and push it that much harder.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna, this winter I'm definitely gonna double down on that and try and do some crazier. I got some pretty crazy plans for this winter.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
But I prefer summer because it's warmer and it's easier, and my body doesn't end up super sore at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, I bet. Much. Yeah, even with your heater in your camper there, it's still, you're out.
Yeah. Well, we get up in snow that's like knee deep or waist deep. Now, just imagine every time you want to get a shot, you got to jump out and hike through knee deep snow, like 50 feet up the road, and put a tripod down and film, and then jump out and get it. And
for all the running back and forth that YouTubers go, you guys should all be real thin and healthy and fit.
You think so? I probably spend way more time sitting down a computer editing. So
that's true.
I got to start going to the gym for real.
So you spend a lot of time on the road. What do you listen to when you're driving?
I like to just hit, on Spotify, they have like the new release radar playlist. Yep. It's kind of like based on what you've listened to in the past. Here's like a bunch of new music that you might like. I like to kind of go through that and just like listen for new songs, you know?
Yeah.
And then I listen to a lot of Metallica on the road. I like to listen to Metallica.
I don't know why. I thought you would. I don't know why. Maybe I saw something somewhere about that, but I don't know.
I've worn a Metallica shirt in a lot of videos.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. They're my favorite
So
band.
the answer you were supposed to give was the 4x4 Canada podcast.
Yes, I also listen to the 4x4 Canada podcast. Actually, I should do that. That's a great idea. That's a great idea for something to listen to on the road. I'll do that.
Yeah, I go back and forth between podcasts and music, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah, bouncing around. So let's get a shout out to some of your marketing partners. Of course, we got to start with Epic. I mean, Epic has been a huge part of your channel for a long time.
Yeah, my first real partner, and they followed Epic. The owner, he reached out to me in 2020, very early when the channel was still really small. Loved what I was doing, and it's just like, how can we help? And then without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I do, hands down.
Yeah. So that's
Big Adventure Outfitters. Yeah. Yes. So they're a Jeep build shop.
Yep.
In Langley.
Yeah, and they do some really neat work. They do the V8 conversions if people want a V8 in it.
They're doing the V8 swaps now, Hemi swaps, and they're also they do full builds for White Rock Dodge, one of my other partners. So you can go down to White Rock Dodge and you can get a Gladiator or Wrangler that's been built by Epic right off the lot, and then everything's included in your financing. Or you can go buy a Jeep from them and you can say, I want this, this build from Epic, and they'll wrap that all into your financing as well. So it's kind of cool, very, very 4x4 friendly. Sorry, I guess like a lifted 4x4 friendly dealership, and they'll do everything they can to help. Whereas a lot of dealerships will just be like, oh, you modified it, no warranty,
Yep.
Everyone's had that experience.
No, that's great. Who else is on board with you?
Toyo Tires.
Yes.
Toyo Tires hooks me up with all my tires, which is nice. Never have to worry about tires because of Toyo, and they're great tires.
And they're a good tire. I run Toyo mud trains myself too.
Yeah, they've been awesome. So I've got those on both my rigs. And then as well, we've got Modular Racks, which is a local shop. Also, it's actually right across the street from White Rock Dodge. So they do like rooftop tents, racks, camping equipment, bike racks, like any kind of accessory type stuff you need for your trucks. Ryan, the owner of that shop, is a friend of mine. He comes out sometimes. You may have seen him in his Volvo C303 military van on the channel. So just like most of my main, even Toyo is based right out of Richmond. So like I have a pretty personal relationship with all my main partners or sponsors or whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
So those are the main companies that I work with. And then I, have various relationships with all sorts of part companies and industries, people in the industry and stuff.
I know you use Onyx quite a bit. When's it coming to Canada?
The last I heard was end of June, but it's now July. So I should follow up with them and find out. They told me end of June. I saw them at Overland Expo West, and I asked, and he said that they were going to keep me in the loop on when it was launching so that I could let everyone know when it's out. But I don't know. I'll follow up and find out.
Sounds good. I
want it too.
So, I bet you do.
I had to use a hack to get it on my device, but it's such a great app.
Yeah, it seems to be really popular in the States, and everything I've heard about has been really good. So,
it's a good tool. Like if you're in, one of the best things about it that I like is if when I'm traveling around in the US, if I'm on the road and I just need to find somewhere to camp, I can just pull up Onyx and it'll give me, it'll show me all the trails that are in the area, or I can I can zoom out and find out how far I have to go to get to a trail and click on the trail. It's going to tell me, the difficulty of the trail, if there's camping, or like there'll be photos or like write-ups about it and all sorts of stuff. So it can be really useful just for finding stuff when you're on the road.
Yeah, they've definitely relied on input from people like yourself.
Yep.
Giving that kind of input, right?
Yeah, they've been a great company to work with. Like they've been very open to like I've given them lots of feedback about the app or stuff like that, and things that I think work and don't work. And they're
cool.
They're
I'm
trying to be a part of the community, which is cool, right?
Yeah. So once again, we're talking to Shaun from This Story Till Now, and of course you can check him out on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook as well. The last question that we ask all their guests is, what Canadian would you like to listen to on the 4x4 Canada podcast?
Oh, yeah. I meant to think about this when you told me you were going to ask me that. Let's see. Have you had Kim Reeves on?
I have. Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
I've been talking to Casey and we talked to him before you guys went down to EGS, and he was too busy at that point in time, but we haven't been able to hook up.
Yeah. Well, you should definitely get Casey on. He's an interesting guy to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely want to talk about his Demonator and
I
all
think
his
like everyone
too.
else I would suggest you've already had on.
Well, I didn't want to bring you on when I only had, 20 listeners, right?
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I was wondering if you were ever going to invite me, and then you finally invited me. I was like, yes.
I wanted to make it worth your while, so.
It's always fun to do these and just chat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've heard a few of the other ones you've been on, so it's an interesting thing to podcast, and I really like that we have done just Canada stuff, right? So
yeah, it's cool. So you gotta just like with YouTube channels, you gotta find a lane, right? And
yeah, exactly.
A niche.
What do you think, a little bit off topic, but what do you think about this new legislation coming through where they're going to be really promoting the Canadian content in Canada?
Yeah, that's
I was
interesting.
talking with Chrome from Van City Van Life, and that way he explained it to me that I didn't understand was that there's a lot of people that are nervous that they're going to start doing that in other countries, and then that will end up blocking your content in other countries. I hadn't either. Apparently that's what a lot of them are concerned about.
Well, that's definitely concerning. I mean, 60% of my audience is in the United States. So
and that's what he was saying too, right?
I think the main concern for me is if it somehow affects how my content is promoted outside of Canada. Like if it helps me get promoted more in Canada, then cool. Like that doesn't hurt me at all. But I think there's just a lot of questions, and there's also, questions about what's classified as Canadian content. How do I classify myself as that? And do I have to classify myself as that? Or can I classify myself as American creator? Or is it based on your address or your bank account? Or like what's the deal, right? Like, because if it's going to affect me negatively, I will just change everything so it looks like I'm American, right? Because it's more beneficial to me. But that's just stupid. We shouldn't have to jump through hoops.
Well, especially because you do have quite a bit of American content on your site now, right? So it's interesting. Like I say, when he mentioned to me that they're scared of other countries doing that, where they're going to start promoting their own people in their own country. If they did that in the States, then that's a huge
hugely
concern.
Affect me for sure.
Yeah.
It's scary, like that's the tough thing about this job is that, I'm almost 100% dependent on the platform that I'm on. Right. Because, my 250 plus thousand or 240, whatever thousand subscribers are all tied to YouTube. And if they make any type of change that's not beneficial to me, it's just like completely out of my control, So that's one of the biggest challenges I think of doing this is that you're banking a lot on YouTube not screwing you over.
Yep. And I've seen people where they've had their channels revoked or whatever, right? So
it happens.
That's scary for sure. So but I'm sure you would persevere somehow.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I've tried to diversify a little bit by starting a Patreon, which, a lot of people are doing for that reason, because it gives you another place to build an audience outside of the YouTube platform. So like if YouTube goes down, I would still have, however many, tiny little fraction of those followers. And then there's also, like we can't make money on Instagram in Canada. So that's weird because you can make money on Facebook, which owns Instagram. So I don't know. But
and yet you can make money on Instagram.
Just a mess,
States.
Right? I don't think they even know what they're doing. So I don't pay any attention to building my Facebook presence at all because I just don't like the platform. Yeah, but I'm mostly on Instagram and YouTube and Patreon.
Yep. At The Story Till Now. Awesome, Shaun. I really thank you for taking the time to talk to me I know you got a busy schedule. I know you're heading out tomorrow. You're heading out, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk to me tonight. And
it was fun.
Not a problem. We'll chat soon. I'm sure we'll see each other on the trail soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Cool.